All right, y'all, let's get into it. Last week we talked about Youngblood #1. Now it's time to talk about Image in the 90s. And tonight we're talking about Youngblood issue #2 by Rob Liefeld. And let me tell you this, last week we talked about issue #1, and as much as I wanted to enjoy it, I found it severely lacking. Issue #2, really solid. First of all, it's also the first appearance of Prophet. It's also the first appearance of Shadowhawk, but we'll get to that later. Just like the original issue, it is a flip book, but the main story is the one story. And it involves the B team. But before we even get back to the B team, and no, we don't pick up from the cliffhanger of the A team in the last issue. I don't know if we ever go back to that or whatever, but we start with this new team we're being introduced to. It's the Berserkers, or as I like to say, it's Kane, Weapon X, it's Domino, it's Beast. You know, it's X-Force, X-Men characters, but Rob Liefeld kind of reimagining them. But I'm going to tell you this, I liked this issue a lot more than the previous. Let's just say that. When I say a lot, that's what I mean, a lot more than the previous. But I liked this issue pretty solidly. So we get introduced to this new team, the Berserkers. They're on this crazy mission, whole bunch of new characters. We get some really nice, solid work from Rob Liefeld. In the last issue, we were talking about, a lot of it looked to me like he was just drawing based on muscle memory, and he wasn't like rounding, like doing the underdrawing and figuring things out. You get a lot more of that in this. This feels more like X-Force #1 level than Youngblood #1 did, right? So these dudes, they're out there, they're trying to find their leader, a dude named Kirby. Y'all know, as Taki pointed out earlier, I am 100% overly sensitive about Jack Kirby, and I love Rob Liefeld's respect for Jack Kirby. This book was dedicated to him, and Jack Kirby is basically the inspiration for this Kirby character, and it's Jack Kirby like amped the fuck up, and I absolutely loved it. They grab his ass, they're like, yo, it's basically like Rob Liefeld is like, oh, some of the X-Men and X-Force characters are coming to free Jack Kirby from the chains, Marvel Comics, and Stan Lee, but I love it. They're going after this dude. I can't even remember his name now. It's Dark something. What's his damn name? I'm looking at it right here. It is Dark Thorn. Dark Thorn is the big villain here. And then we cut and we get introduced to Prophet. So the first appearance of Prophet is a big close-up in on his face. This is actually a really solid image, I believe, from Rob Liefeld. And the Youngblood B team, the away team, if you will, the stealth team that we were introduced to, the majority of issue #1. We never go back in issue #2 to the A team. I do believe that in issues 3, they start tying it together, and I appreciate that. But basically, we get introduced to Prophet. Prophet is a super soldier that was developed in World War II and has been in a cryogenic state of suspended animation ever since. And Youngblood, the B team, the away team, so it's Sentinel, and it's Riptide, and Cougar, and Sci-Fire, and Combat, and what's that dude's name? Brahma. They have to just basically do security detail in the transportation of this experiment. They're going to try to figure out how to make super soldiers from Prophet's blood, right? Rob Liefeld, by the way, in the first issue, we had Hank Canal, I think, being credited for doing dialogue. No credited dialogue writer, so I'm assuming it's Rob Liefeld, and it's actually a lot better than the dialogue in issue #1. There is some expository stuff. This is a big scene, but it's kind of paced really well. So we're getting the origin of Prophet, and we're getting the whole idea of what the mission is. The lettering in this issue, by the way, is way better than that previous issue. That last issue was really poorly lettered. This one's lettered better, but it's lettered by 3 different people, so you'll see the fonts shift and change. And it wouldn't be bad if it was lettered by 3 people that were doing 3 different, or 3 things that were similar, but they're doing 3 very different things, right? So you got the idea that Combat, who's a member of this alien race, him and Cougar, they've been the most character development and interaction that we've gotten in Youngbloods within 2 issues. So we're going right back to them, right? And we're learning a little bit more about these characters, and they're talking about Prophet, like, oh man, like, you know, I'm meant to be like the greatest soldier on my planet, says Combat, and Cougar's talking to him, and then Prophet breaks fucking free, and we got one of these centerfold pages, and it spreads out, and there is Prophet. He's like, what? And we're about to get some ass kicked, y'all. So this is a great page. I love that close-up in on Prophet right there. So we basically get him fighting with Cougar and with Combat. I think this is some really cool, nice, fun, action-packed, oriented layouts from Rob Liefeld. I really like when he's getting into the facial stuff. Some of Rob Liefeld's best inking, I think, is his close-up inking on his faces, like that Prophet right there. But also like that Combat right there. Even at a mid-range, the facial inking that Rob Liefeld does is pretty intense. Very, you could almost call it noodly for what it is. It's a lot of lines that maybe don't necessarily need to be there, but it adds this dynamism that's absolutely fantastic. And I love this initial fight with Prophet. There are some clunky bits, like out of nowhere, Sentinel shows up. None of that shit's led to. Like, maybe we could have got some more storytelling involved where we see the other members of Youngblood kind of hear the commotion and react to it. But he just shows up. They're all fighting. Other people show up. Come on, man. Riptide, tell me you would. Anyway, we're moving on from that. Brahma, Riptide, they all get into the whole thing. And then we get this really interesting double-page spread that I like. I love the design and the layouts. Brahma's done really weird. That's one of those Rob Liefeld's, like, extended-ass torsos or whatever, but as Elon Musk proved recently, it does exist. My favorite thing about that was Rob Liefeld tweeted out that Captain America image and the Elon Musk image, and he's like, I told y'all, and I thought that was absolutely fantastic. And then out of nowhere, so first of all, Prophet has showed up, and he's like, I'm after the disciples. My mission is to stop the disciples. And you're getting all this information sent to him, and he thinks at first, because Cougar and Combat are not human, he thinks they're disciples, but they're not. And then out of nowhere, the fucking disciples just happen to goddamn show up. They just happen to show up at the same time that Prophet reawakens, at the same time that Youngblood's there to transport him to another fucking place. So it's all filled with convenience. And this was the one that was really fucking jarring. Like, Sentinel coming out of nowhere with the rest of Youngblood. Okay, I can buy that they heard some shit. Why are the disciples... Wait, what? What's going on? And who are the disciples working for? They're working for no other than... What is his name again? I already forgot. Is it Dark Force? Dark Thorn. Kind of forgettable names. And then another giant page splash to end it, where to help save the day, as the disciples show up and Prophet realizes he's now on Youngblood's side, Kirby and the Berserkers show up, and that's the end of the issue. But then we get the flip side, which is a 5-page introduction of Shadowhawk. This is by Jim Valentino, and it is the first appearance of Shadowhawk. So Youngblood number 2, first appearance of Shadowhawk, first appearance of Prophet. So there you go. It's probably the most expensive issue of Youngblood, too. So they called it Extra Image, right? We see this repeated in issue number 3. We'll get to that next week when they introduce Supreme for the first time. But basically, it just introduces Shadowhawk. The idea of what is it like to be so mad every time you see the news or read the paper. You're tired of the infestation of crime. They're building up the character of Shadowhawk. We're getting that Jim Valentino work. Love the perspective there on the building. Love the layout on that page. Love the layout here. This is the briefest of introductions. Basically, it just shows up and kicks some criminals' asses. But they're utilizing some really interesting stuff with the emblem right there and with the mask. And I actually really like the Shadowhawk design. I really like Jim Valentino doing it. Obviously inspired by Wolverine, but it works for me. And it's a good setup for what's to come in Shadowhawk. Now, the only Shadowhawk book I've ever read has been issue number 0 by Rob Liefeld, which we covered. We're definitely going to be getting into Shadowhawk soon. But to recap, Youngblood issue number 2, I think a big, vast improvement over issue number 1. Prophet is an interesting character. I have the Prophet series. I'm just missing issue number 8 and 10 of volume 1, and then that will be complete. I plan on going into some Prophet stuff because we got Stephen Platt that comes in to do the artwork there. I absolutely thought this issue was fun. So the last issue, I mean, I think I gave it like a 2.5, but this one I would actually give a 3.5 because we get some nice dynamic layouts from Rob Liefeld. We're getting some really solid inking from Rob Liefeld. We're getting a tribute to Jack Kirby. We're getting a bunch of new concepts introduced. We're actually finally feeling like there's a thread coming together. Youngblood #1 was initially done to be like an independent black and white comic. It felt a little bit clunky. I think Rob Liefeld was intentionally trying to do the artwork for color. That's why you see use of things like screen tone in that. You don't see that in Rob Liefeld's artwork. You don't see it here because this is more in line with what he's trying to do. Now, I know that there were a lot of problems when they were building up Image and Extreme Studios with lateness and all that kind of stuff. Youngblood was a part of that, but I thought issue 2 really kind of pulled it together and made me a little bit more engaged into the story. The addition of Prophet didn't hurt. The ink work, especially on the faces and the dynamic energy of some of this artwork was really cool. This is stuff directly inspired by Fist of the North Star, another manga and anime like that. And you can totally feel it, but it's got that Kirby vibe as well. So overall, it's not quite as exceptional as what Eric Larson was doing on Savage Dragon, but it's way better than what Rob Liefeld did on Youngblood #1. It's more engaging. It's more compelling. I love the artwork in it better. I love the anchors that are on most pages, like the Riptide right there, the weird, crazy Brahma stuff, but look at the energy lines in the background. That's that manga kind of vibe and that flow and that feel. There's a lot of struggle against the page count as far as the story goes. It could be evened out a little bit better, but all in all, it was fun, and it was a nice, solid introduction into Shadowhawk that I'm sure at the time would have gotten people really excited for the future of Prophet, Youngblood, Shadowhawk, Jim Valentino, Rob Liefeld, and Image Comics. All in all, I'll give this one a 3.5. I think it's pretty solid. Let's see what everybody thinks. Two Gun says, I'm going to hook you up before Horror Fest. Just wait. Well, Station. You don't have to, but I appreciate it. Sinner says, that's how Image books were back in the 90s, so they weren't really lacking to me. Strife, wait, no, it's the cousin, Darkthorn. Bobby says, I knew a cougar back in the day, but that's a story for a different time. It's crazy how good these guys were with the good markers we have, without the good markers we have now. Yeah, Rob Liefeld used to do this thing where he would like do his thumbnails. He'd blow up the thumbnails and work on them. And I mean, I'll be honest, the artwork in issue #1 was very clunky. The story was way off. The story coalesces a little bit better here. This feels like this would be a better issue #1 almost. There's never, though, a proper introduction to these characters. We don't know these characters yet. That does kind of hold it back a little bit, but there is some good energy. So here's my original copy. I say original. This is it. So it flips, and on this side you got the Jim Valentino bit, and that there you could join the Rob Liefeld fan club. I wonder if that's still active. But I really like the Shadowhawk bit. I like the composition and the layouts on it. I'm excited to dive into more Shadowhawk stuff. This one also just is a better product as far as the quality of the paper, the way that the colors work. Colors are still Brian Murray. Color separations by Digital Chameleon. They're still doing the Malibu comic stuff, but actually this is a better quality product as far as paper goes, as far as art goes, as far as story goes. If you were able to, and I think a lot of people were, you want to get into Youngblood, but issue #1 sold really well. I don't know what the sales were on issue #2. I'm sure they were still strong. Obviously not anywhere near as strong as issue #1 would be. But real fun to go through and read these for the first time for me. Reading through those earlier issues of New Mutants by Rob Liefeld, which we've covered on Marvel in the 90s or 80s or whatever. There's quite a few of these in here. But Prophet is a character that really intrigues me. I first started reading Prophet a few years ago. There was someone that was doing Prophet books. I cannot remember his name. But it was like an indie kind of art. And I have the little cards. The cards came in all these issues too. No Die Hard in this book. No A-Team. That kind of throws it off a little bit. But I don't care if they're not in here if the book itself is a little bit more fun. So there is that. Coloring's better too. It's not as muddy. It's a little bit more poppy. 3.5. I think that's being fairly generous. But I also like the tribute to Jack Kirby. Right there. Look at that. Good stuff. Is that Jean Grey up there? The fuck? Where did that character come from? I haven't even noticed her yet. Only issue I remember Youngblood was the Playboy Shoot issue. Ooh. I heard about that. Riptide, right? I enjoyed Simon Roy and Brandon Graham's reimagining of Prophet a lot. That's it right there. Hell yeah. PCP opens a mystery box. Get one before they're gone. Thank you so much, Taki. That's right. If you're interested in a PCP mystery box, available right now, email us at popculturephilosophers@gmail.com. $30. That includes shipping, comics, and surprises, including a sketch from yours truly. Isn't DH getting a one-shot? Is he? I don't know. Dutch is being brought back by Joe Casey, I think, in an upcoming issue of Image, the 30th anniversary. Yeah, Brandon Graham. Hell yeah. That's awesome. Anyway, I liked issue number 2 of Youngblood way more than issue number 1. Issue number 1's very easy to find. You're going to read it. You're going to be like, what? But issue number 2 works. It works for me. When I was reading the Rob Liefeld early New Mutant stuff, and we haven't even gotten to probably the height of that. We're still going to build to that, but we're focusing right now on Youngblood. Issue number 3 next time. I loved it. I thought it was good. Nice, fun, solid Rob Liefeld Youngblood book. I'm kind of more excited. I was kind of disappointed after last week, I'll be honest. So this has revitalized me. Thank you all for paying attention too. Image in the 90s.